Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT YouTube channel. My name is Bastion, as ever, I am the IT Geek. Welcome back to my SE100 Microsoft Cybersecurity Architect exam topic series. We are now in the last part of topic 7. So I've been talking about privileged identity management, PIM, PAM, governance. We've been talking about a lot of interesting topics within this section, and we're kind of halfway now in the series. We've got 15 topics in total. We are now on topic 7. So without further ado, let's get started with this episode. As I mentioned, this is Microsoft Cybersecurity Architect SE100 exam series, and we are now on topic 7, part 3. So today we're going to talk. So this topic is about designing solutions for securing privileged access, and we'll talk about identity governance in on-premises ADDS, Active Directory Domain Services. We're going to talk about designing for cloud infrastructure entitlement management, or CIEM, and we'll talk about designing a solution for privileged access workstations and Bastion. Then we'll jump into a demo of how to set up Bastion. So let's talk about identity governance in on-premises Active Directory Domain Services first. So we talk about PAM in Active Directory or Domain Services. This is on-premises. It's going to help organisations to restrict access from that privileged access within sort of your isolated AD environment. It allows you to get control and re-establish control over Active Directory if it's compromised. You're gonna have to maintain separate unaffected Bastion environments as well, so have different environments for that remote access. You can also isolate the use of privileged accounts to, I guess, going to again in the long run reduce that risk of those credentials being stolen. Again, it's about separating those higher privileged tasks to normal user tasks. So normal user tasks are including accessing email, replying to email, accessing Word documents, printing, things like that. You can't be doing those with your privileged accounts. Your privileged access needs to be separate accounts, separate devices where you don't have email, you don't have even internet, unless it's specific sort of locations or specific websites. You need to be totally aware of those different credentials, different accounts, different devices, and that is going to be more secure and protect your sort of privileged access on premises. Let's talk about designing sort of for cloud infrastructures and entitlement management. So we're talking about CIEM now. So customers can assess permissions risks by evaluating the sort of gap between permissions granted and the permissions used. We have cross-cloud permission discovery we can use, so granular and normalized metrics for sort of cloud platforms in AWS, Azure, and GCP. We're talking about using Microsoft Entra Permissions Management here specifically. And that's going to also allow us to look at that permissions creep index, or PCI, as well, which is an aggregated metric that periodically evaluates the risk of sort of associated with the number of unused or excessive permissions across your identities and resources. It measures how much damage identities can cause based on the permissions they have. Another very interesting feature is the permission usage analytics. So your multi-dimensional view of permissions risks for all identities, actions, and resources. You can also look at sort of remediating, so customers can right-size permissions based on usage, grant sort of new permissions on demand, and automate just-in-time access for those cloud resources. You can have sort of automated deletion as well of permissions unused in the past 90 days. Or what we call permissions on demand, which I just mentioned. So this is grant identity permissions on demand for a sort of time-limited period or sort of an as-need basis. You can also monitor as well, do a lot of monitoring, so customers can detect anomalous sort of activities within machine learning powered or ML powered alerts and generate detailed forensic reports as well. We've mentioned ML powered anomaly detections, context rich forensics and reports around identities, actions, and sort of resources to support rapid investigations and remediations as well. It gives you comprehensive visibility as well. You can discover which identity is going to do what, where, and when. And you can unify the access policies as well across that infrastructure or IaaS platform by implementing consistent policies across that cloud infrastructure. So we've kind of explained what the Entra Permissions Management is. Now let's actually just discuss how to get it actually set up. You can enable permission management in your sort of organization to design a solution for sort of cloud infrastructure entitlement management, or CIEM. And first is you need to fulfill all the prerequisites. So you need to make sure that you have an Entra tenant, obviously. And then make sure you have the active assignment to the global admin role as well. So you need to have the global admin permissions. So your tenant will at least be eligible for one, so you can increase that in PIM. And then you actually need to enable permission management in your Entra tenant. So then you go sign to your browser with your global admin access. Make sure you activate your role, obviously, and then you can select the permissions management in the Entra portal. And then you can link or purchase the license or begin a trial if you want as well. And that'll take you to the data collectors dashboard within permissions management. And finally, you then configure those sort of data collection settings. And on that sort of onboarding point, when it comes to sort of authorization, you can onboard obviously AWS and GCP as well, but you need to make sure you select one of the the authorization systems you want to, and follow the specific instructions for those. So is it AWS, is it Azure, or is it GCP? And make sure they all have different instructions. So make sure you follow those for that specific authorization system. So final topic, or final part of this video and then topic is going to be designing a solution for privileged access workstations and bastions as well. And that'll take us into a demo where we can look at setting up a bastion within Azure. So let's talk about the privileged access workstations and some of the controls you can put in place. And the first sort of the sort of role and profile I want to talk about is the sort of enterprise device. So the first managed role is sort of good for sort of home users, small business users, and sort of general developers and sort of enterprises where organisations want to raise that bar for that minimum security. And this sort of profile, is going to permit users to run any sort of application and browser to any website, but an anti-malware and endpoint detection or EDR solution like Defender for Endpoint is required. So a policy-based approach to increase that security posture is taken. It provides a secure means to sort of work with customer data while also using productivity tools like email and sort of web browsing. We then have the sort of specialized profile sort of use case. So this represents a significant step up from enterprise usage by removing the ability to self-administer the workstation and limit which applications may run on that sort of applications, on the applications that are installed by that sort of authorized admin. And that's obviously in the program files and sort of pre-approved applications in that user profile location. Removing the ability to install applications may impact productivity if implemented incorrectly. So you need to make sure you have provided access to sort of the Microsoft Store applications or corporate managed applications that can be rapidly installed to meet user needs. We then have the privileged access workstation or the PAW profile. So this is the highest security configuration designed for sensitivity roles and that would have a significant or material impact on the organization if their account was compromised. The PAW configuration includes sort of security controls and policies that restrict local administrators, I can't get my words out, local administrative access, productivity tools to minimize the attack surface to only what is sort of required for performing sensitive sort of job tasks. This makes the PAW device difficult for attackers to compromise because it blocks the sort of most common vector for phishing attacks, email and web browsing, things like that. To provide productivity to these users, separate accounts and workstations must be provided for productivity applications like the enterprise profile. While inconvenient, this is necessary to control and protect users whose account could inflict damage to most or all resources in the organization if they were compromised. So still important that you need to protect those, although it might seem like more work. And now let's talk a little bit about Bastion. So Bastion is going to let you connect to your virtual machines via your browser, the Azure portal, via SSH or RDP without exposing the sort of public endpoint. It's a full PaaS service, and it's going to provide sort of provisioning inside your VNet. And this means that the VMs don't need a public IP address or agent or even a sort of special client software. And you can get essentially secure RDP and SSH connectivity to all VMs, be it Linux or Windows, in the virtual network, which is provisioned. We're going to take a look at that in the demo. Which brings us to the demo, funnily enough. So yeah, we're going to actually go and provision a Bastion, and we're going to actually go through the process of connecting to a VM, Windows VM through Bastion as well. So let's jump into the demo tenant. Hello and welcome back. We're now in the Azure portal this time. I'm actually going to do a demo around creating a Bastion. So Bastion host, as we mentioned, is a secure way of connecting to your cloud, Azure cloud, Windows and Linux VMs via SSH or RDP. So I already got one here, but I'm going to create a new one, just go through that process and then show you how that works. So create. And obviously you need to select the resource group, and then obviously give it a name. So let's go SC100 dash here's a B for Azure Bastion. Again, select the region, give it availability, select availability zone if you want. Then you can select a tier. So you've got developer, basic, or standard. And again, tells you a little about, Azure Bastion offers 4 different SKUs, and you can look into those, whatever suits you. For the demo purpose, I'm just going to do this one. You want to select the virtual network. So I think for this one specific one, I'm just going to use VNet 01. And again, you need to have a subnet called Azure Bastion subnet. So you have to have it. So you have to have a subnet created, or you can just create a new one. But make sure it's called Azure Bastion subnet. That's key. You can't call it anything you want. It has to be called Azure Bastion subnet in that exact format with a capital A, capital B, capital S. And obviously, it's already going to have a public IP address, but then you can either create a new one or give it an existing one if you want. So I've got an existing one. I'm just going to leave it with that. You go to advanced, you can set any sort of settings around sort of copy paste or Kerberos authentication you want. Give it a tag and go to review and create. And there's where you can validations pass on. You can create that. Now I've obviously already got one, so I'm not going to actually create this. But from here, this is where you can, for example, click on the Bastion. Now, for me, so I can essentially use this to connect to sort of any VMs within that region. So, for example, so anything that's in, let's see what VMs are in here. So essentially, there's 2 ways. You can either go to the actual Bastion itself, click on the Bastion, and then you can have a look at the sort of settings or configuration or properties. Or I can actually go to the VM itself. You can go to sessions here, see if you've got any active sessions. You can look at automating and sort of the normal sort of monitoring stuff. Or I can actually go to the virtual machines as well. So if we go to virtual machine, so I'm going to select what I've got a VM. None of my VMs are turned on; they're all turned off. I'll just go here, for example. Once you've switched this on, you can actually go to connect via Bastion. And this is where then you can actually select the connection type. Is it RDP or SSH? If it's a Linux server, it'll be SSH. Select the port, the language. Obviously, I want English UK. And then you can actually put in the username and password. If it's domain join, put in the domain username, the domain password, and click connect. And that'll then open another window. It's turned off on my machine, so I can't connect to it. But that'll open up another window with, in this case, an RDP session. And you can manage it just as you would with an RDP. And you're doing this without having to open up the port 3389 to the public, to the big wide world. So again, that's just a little bit around creating a Bastion and how you can create one and the sort of use it has. So I just wanted to quickly show that, because obviously we were talking about Bastion and secure connectivity. So make sure you try doing that. Bastion is quite costly, so I would recommend once you've created it, delete it, test it, and then delete it. So yeah, try that and have a look at how that works. Try doing SSH connections to a Linux server as well. It works really well. And again, it opens up another sort of SSH browser window, so it's quite cool. So yeah, thank you for again watching this episode. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. We are whittling through it. It's a very long series, so I do appreciate everyone's patience with it. Make sure you do hit that subscribe button. I'm aiming for 20k before the end of the year, so who knows if I'm going to get there. I'm going to try my best. And I'm enjoying doing this content, so hopefully you're getting a lot from it. Make sure you do use the useful links as well. There's the Measure Up sort of practice exam. Measure Up are the official exam partner for Microsoft, so make sure you use that. It's a discounted. There's a link to the Microsoft Learn documents as well for SC100. Again, very useful. It's all free content. And finally, there's a GitHub repository for the sort of case studies. They're not demos or labs, are case studies. So I definitely recommend you review those before you take the exam. So thank you everybody for watching. Until next time. Goodbye.